When you hear the word pirate, one name probably comes to mind: Blackbeard, the terrifying captain with a flaming beard, a brutal reputation, and a legend that has lasted for centuries. But what if I told you there was another pirate, a captain far more successful, who captured more ships than Blackbeard or any other pirate in history? His name was Bartholomew Roberts, but the world would know him as Black Bart. And for a few short years in the early 1700s, he didn't just sail the seas, he ruled them. Bartholomew Roberts wasn't born a pirate. He came from a small town in Wales and, like many young men of his time, he went to sea to make a living. He became a merchant sailor, working the long, grueling voyages across the Atlantic. These ships were the lifeblood of the global economy, carrying everything from sugar and tobacco to gold and enslaved people. Roberts was known for his discipline and skill. He was a gifted navigator, a teetotaler, and someone who followed the rules. Nothing about him suggested he would one day become the most successful pirate who ever lived. But one fateful encounter in 1719, off the coast of West Africa, would change his life forever. Roberts was serving as an officer on a slave ship when pirate vessels appeared on the horizon. The attack was swift and decisive. The pirate captain, a charismatic and dangerous man named Howell Davis, captured the ship with little resistance. Roberts and the rest of the crew were taken prisoner. They were given a choice that many sailors faced in that era: join the pirates or be abandoned to an uncertain fate. Reluctantly, Roberts joined. He had no idea this decision would launch one of the most remarkable pirate careers in history. At first, Roberts served under Captain Davis, but it didn't take long for the seasoned pirates to notice their new crewmate's exceptional talent. Roberts knew the sea routes, the trade patterns, and how to command a ship like few others. Captain Davis recognized his potential and began to trust him with more and more responsibility. But fate, as it often does in these stories, had other plans. While raiding the island of Principe, Captain Davis was ambushed and killed. The pirate crew suddenly found themselves without a leader. So they did what pirates did. They held a vote. And in a stunning turn of events, they chose the newest pirate among them to be their next captain, Bartholomew Roberts. A man who had been a pirate for barely 6 weeks was now in command of a pirate fleet. Roberts's first act as captain was not to celebrate, but to seek revenge. He immediately sailed his fleet back to Principe, the very island where Captain Davis had been killed. He launched a surprise attack on the harbor, burning and capturing the ships anchored there. The raid was swift, ruthless, and sent a clear message. Bartholomew Roberts was a captain to be feared. His name began to spread among other pirates, and soon, the entire Atlantic world would know it. Over the next 3 years, Roberts became an unstoppable force. His fleet grew, and he sailed across vast stretches of the ocean, from the Caribbean to the coasts of North America and back to the rich trade routes of West Africa. He didn't just raid ships, he orchestrated naval campaigns. Roberts preferred speed and surprise over brute force. Instead of engaging heavily armed warships, he targeted wealthy merchant vessels, often capturing them before they even knew they were under attack. His most famous raid occurred near Ouida, where more than 20 merchant ships were anchored in the harbor. Roberts calmly sailed in, disguised his ship, and captured them one by one, without a single fight. Historians estimate that in just 3 years, Roberts captured over 400 ships. No other pirate, not even Blackbeard, has ever come close to that record. But what's truly fascinating about Black Bart is how he ran his ships. He wasn't your typical, chaotic pirate captain. He enforced a strict code of conduct, known as his pirate articles. On his ships, gambling was banned. All lights were to be extinguished by 8 p.m. And fighting among the crew was strictly forbidden, with disputes settled by a duel on shore. He made sure the treasure was divided fairly among all the pirates, creating a sense of order and loyalty. And then there was his appearance. Roberts dressed like a gentleman, not a rogue. Eyewitnesses described him wearing fine silk coats, a crimson waistcoat, gold jewelry, and a large feathered hat. He looked more like a naval admiral than a pirate. His flags were just as dramatic. One of his most famous flags showed him standing on 2 skulls. The skulls represented the islands of Barbados and Martinique, 2 colonies that had sent ships to hunt him down and had become his sworn enemies. Roberts turned their hatred into a symbol of his power, a defiant message to anyone who dared to cross him. He sailed during the height of the golden age of piracy, an era of legends like Charles Vane and Calico Jack. But even among these notorious figures, Bartholomew Roberts stood above them all. But success like that could never last. The empires of Europe were losing enormous fortunes to his raids. The British Royal Navy finally decided that Black Bart had to be stopped. In 1722, a formidable warship, the HMS Swallow, was sent to hunt him down. Its commander, Captain Challoner Ogle, was a clever and determined officer. Ogle used deception, disguising his warship to look like a harmless merchant vessel, hoping to lure Roberts into a trap. And it worked perfectly. When Roberts saw the ship, he gave the order to attack, sailing directly into the Navy's snare. The final battle took place off the coast of what is now Gabon. Witnesses said Roberts prepared for combat by putting on his finest clothes, his crimson waistcoat, his feathered hat, and his gold jewelry. Even in his final moments, he dressed like a king. The battle began with a deafening roar of cannons. But almost immediately, a blast of grape shot swept across the deck of Roberts's ship. He was struck in the throat and died instantly. His crew, honoring his final wish, immediately wrapped his body in a sail and threw him into the sea. The Navy would capture his crew, but they would never capture him. Bartholomew Roberts was a pirate for only 3 years. Yet in that incredibly short time, he captured more ships than any pirate who ever lived. His death marked a turning point. Within a decade, the great pirate strongholds were dismantled, and most of the famous captains were either captured or killed. The golden age of piracy was coming to an end. But the legend of Black Bart, the gentleman pirate who ruled the Atlantic, survived. He was a merchant sailor who became a reluctant pirate, then a vengeful captain, and finally the most successful pirate in history. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as incredible as I did, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more hidden histories. See you next time.